Well, you are a big shot.
I try.
For me to get up on Sunday morning, come all the way from Charlotte to Philly, and then back out of Newark later this evening, you must be a big shot.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Coming from you, the greatest horseman of all time, that's pretty amazing.
Who said that?
Myself, Charlie, and J.J. Dillon.
J.J. Dillon.
He said it, yeah. I know a lot of people love Flair, and obviously, they love Flair. But Arn is, you're the more serious promo, the more meat and potato guy. Flair was a little over the top sometimes. You were the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment where, did you guys actually enjoy, did you actually really feel the moment you guys were in? Were you guys just living in, city to city? Did you, sit back and, we're changing the business? Because, that stretch of that Crockett era of bashes selling out, changed the business, in my opinion.
It's important to know that this did not come from a booking meeting. It wasn't discussed. It wasn't pre-planned. A booker didn't come up with it and go, hey, we got this name. We're going to call you guys. We're going to put you all together. It came on a fluke interview out of just necessity because we had a couple, 3 different matches. Could have been as many as 4. I don't know. But it was that group of guys, and we all had to share the promo time. So I knew I wasn't going to have much time, and I just started looking at the way guys were standing, and the tricks of photography are the tall guys stand in the back and the short guys stand in the front. It makes everybody look comparable, So we're all just kind of, I said, man, that's a hell of a picture. I don't know how, why, what the reason was, but Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse from the Bible popped in my head just out of nowhere, and I went, Four Horsemen. Okay, that sounds good. So I plugged it into the interview, just thinking it was going to be a hype line for that particular promo, and that would be it. And when it was over, Tony Schiavone was right in my grill. He said, geez, Arn, you just named you guys. That's cool as shit. Yeah. I'm like, you think so? He said, yes. So, to answer your question, after about 2 weeks, or 1 additional week even, of calling us the Four Horsemen the next week on promos, this thing started, and it started immediately in the arenas. And it just flamed up. And I'm going to Tully, I'm going, Rick's walking around, wooing and doing his stuff, and Ole's over here, figuring out who he could, assassinate.
Jesus.
So I hit Tully in the ribs. I go, are you seeing this? He went, yep, we got something here. Jim Crockett, a week later, comes up to him and he goes, Tully, what's with this Four Horsemen thing? This thing's getting over. Tully looks at him and goes, you think? And so we just moved forward from there, and it just evolved, and people still talking about it today.
Absolutely.
Must have worked.
Yeah, a little bit. What do you think about being the youngest member? You're kind of like the rookie horseman, you know what I mean? But you're the one creating the phrase and the name. So what did you think about your position as far as where you were at that time?
It was never lost on me from day one in this business that the way to get better, because there were no wrestling schools, there were no camps. It was on-the-job training. And you might have a guy work out with you. I personally had about 6 to 8 workouts in the back of a furniture store right there in Rome, Georgia, that a gentleman knew. Jerry Hicks was his name. He knew that I wanted to be a wrestler more than anything on earth. So he bought a ring and put it up, and had Ted Allen, wrestler from that era, come down and train us for about eight times. And then you just, you went to television or you got booked, and somehow somebody got a hold of you and said, hey, you want to work for 4 or 5 months, and you go here and you go there and all those things. So it was never lost on me being on the job training. What was the original question?
You're the youngest guy in the
being the youngest guy. I was the youngest guy virtually in every ring that I went to. When I first went to Bill Watts, Tim Warner was the first guy they put me with. Tim was a couple of years older, I think, a year or two older, but his experience, he was already 4 or 5 years in. And everyone was better than me. I learned from everyone. They were gracious enough to teach me so I didn't have to kill somebody, because was. When you first start, you're wide open. You rely, I was powerlifting at the time. I had a, decent amateur background, just high school wrestling. But I was in attack mode because I thought that's how it was. It turned out it was a lot more advanced than that. And I was very, very honored that the youngest guy in the group could contribute something right off the get-go.
What did you think about Ole? Obviously grumpy, but he's obviously liking to you. You become Arn Anderson, you become, whether it's his cousin or his brother, whatever. I mean, you're an Anderson. What do you think about Ole?
I would have never been a Horseman if I wasn't an Anderson first.
True.
I truly believe that. Ole agreeing to be my partner and us having the run that just the two of us had, I learned so much from him. Everything he did, everything he said on a promo. Of course, our styles are different, but very similar because everything he said, if you look at me, I'm behind him. I'm believing every word he says. I was nothing but respect for his talents. I saw the fact that a lot of that gruffiness of his was just a bluff. It was who he was because, different periods during his tenure in the business, he was owner at one point. He was booker a couple of times. And when you're the boss, you can't be everybody's friend, and so that was his way of dealing, I think, with the boys. Because you had to walk in a locker room back in 1982 and look around the room. There's some grown-ass men. It's a pretty bad apple sitting in that room. I'm talking Dick, when you're talking Dick Slater and, some of those guys, Stan Hansen, you look around the room, it's like, damn. Pretty salty crew, Harley Race.
Yep.
Pretty intimidating.
Blackjack Mulligan. Yeah.
Blackjack Mulligan, my God. If you sat down and showed me a list, I could go, what about, remember him? And you would just go in, I would be starstruck because I was just a kid. I might have had 50 matches by the time I met some of these guys at the very most. And you just, Bob Orton Jr., him and Dick Slater were the team that inspired me to want to be a wrestler. So, yeah, I learned from everybody.
So many people say the original is the greatest Four Horsemen. Obviously, Arn, Ole, Tully, and Rick with
Right.
JJ. I'm always a fan of Barry, Arn, Tully, and Rick.
Have two opinions. You can never, okay, I don't think when something, the original, gets over, let's just take Lethal Weapon movie. I'm a fan of the Lethal Weapon series.
Absolutely.
First one was the one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Second one was incredible, but you go back and watch the first one. That's where the character development came in, and that's where the guy became a star, I think. So the first group with Ole, I think, is probably the most special, the most fan-friendly as far as quality matches, getting more mileage out of Barry being there more days, and just what he brought to the team was probably the best grouping at that particular time.
I definitely agree.
One memory, being right in the shadows of Philadelphia right here, your last night in NWA was against the Midnight Express.
Yep.
Right here in Philadelphia.
Great match.
Great match. One of those iconic matches. It was a story that you guys were building up that obviously got cut short, for reasons, you know what I mean? You guys leaving and everything. Do you guys think that what do you think that story would have turned into with you guys?
They're huge.
I think it would have been the biggest
It
business
just
ever.
flamed up. We had just the week before, sometime before, wrestled in the new Charlotte Coliseum, the home of the Hornets. Brand new building. We were the first event in there.
Right.
It was Luger, Flair, Midnight Express, Horseman.
Right.
15,000 people.
That was a strong game.
Wow. Nice.
And this was, the business had taken a big dip. That's where Turner was coming in, and he was either going to buy it or they were going to bankrupt it. So it was a lot of turmoil going on, and they still pulled that kind of house out. That match, if you'd have known what was going on behind the scenes, would have really took on some flavor, wouldn't it? If you knew that was going to be our last night.
We'd have known then, huh?
Yeah.
Funny thing, if social media would have been what it was and kicked in, we could have never pulled that off.
No.
To fly out of the Philly airport and fly into Newark, get a limo to Vince's house and all that, and then back to Philly and work the show.
They would have figured you out. Just signatures on all
Yeah, okay. And I did, let's be clear. I can, the truth never changes, and I could tell the story beyond even having to think about it. I didn't want to leave. All we wanted is just,
The payoff.
we didn't want to hold them up. We just wanted to be paid what the boss, the owner, told us, or told me he was going to pay me. When a guy walks in a room and says, "Arn, can I see you? Let's go to the bathroom." In our business, it means one of two things. We're fixing to be a hell of a fight,
right.
or there's some serious business to be discussed. When the guy pulls you in and says, "Hey, you've done a great job. We've been through some headaches here, but you guys, we're getting back on track. I want to pay you $25,000 for this pay-per-view." What would you think if your boss volunteered that?
Thank you, sir.
You expect to get it. It's not like I said, I feel like I should get $25,000 for this. I never did that in my entire life to this day. He said it to me. So then you get down the road and you're working hard to get shit turned around, and it's for less than that.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I don't want to leave, but as a man, my rules are protect my family. Number one, I can take a lot of shit. I can eat a lot of shit if they're okay. And every now and then I've learned over the years, and it's just very seldom you can say no when you're 100% right and walk out the door and never look back. Not wonder. That's one night that I knew we were doing the right thing. And you know what? I've never seen the match, but I bet you I could have gave them a lot better performance if my mind wasn't.
Yeah. The crowd was nuts.
And I owed that to those guys. That's probably the one regret I have. And I haven't seen it. It might have been okay. I don't know.
It was really good, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we were just functioning on just instincts at that point. Because in our mind, when we went to the ring, we had already left.
Just dropping the titles and leaving.
Yeah, we were already gone. This was just a formality.
You speak about your family and stuff. Recently on your podcast, you shared something very personal that really touched me about your grandfather, about that work ethic your grandfather shared with you, about how you said that, you explained how, some people live in the big house, you know what I mean? And we live in this house, you know what I mean? And, I go out every day for you guys and everything. And that's the reason you did all the trips and all the miles that you did for you and your family and everything. You think that that's a missing work ethic in today's workers?
Well, number one, my grandfather's the greatest man I've ever known. I was not his grandson, even biological. My grandmother and he took me in, actually just took me out of my mother's hands at the hospital and just brought me home. So they knew she was not capable of raising a child. And that is another long, long story. But he taught me that, he was cutting hair back in those days. And he would go in, I think he was there on the job cutting hair at 6 a.m. and he would knock off about 6 p.m. He would come home, eat a little bit of dinner, change his clothes, and he would go out and work the garden. He had a garden in the back. So till dark. And it just blew me away because I would go to his shop on different days, just pop in there, whatever, and it was packed. Those benches across that shop, there would be 15 people in a barbershop waiting to get a haircut. Police, firemen, men's men, you know what I mean? And, and he had his old truck, his old Chevrolet truck that he bought, that he paid for, I think cash, and our home, which I didn't know at the time, was paid for. But it was a very, very small home. And he just taught me that you don't not go to work, son. You get up no matter what, whether you're feeling good, you feel bad, whatever it is, you go to work. And I just brought that same work ethic to me. You show up, people spend their money to see you, give them everything you got that night. And if your talent will allow you to give them something special, at least no matter what else happens that night when they're walking out the door, they go, I know some of that's a show. But goddamn Andersons, man, they fucking hate everybody.
Yeah.
We got that. Good to go.
Absolutely.
You were always such a great worker, and I was Tully's a great worker. When they put Luger in the Horseman with you guys, what's your thoughts on Luger? Because he's pretty green. He looks great. He looks like $1 million, but he's green, and you guys are kind of veterans, and he's a rookie and everything else. So what do you think when they take out Ole? Obviously, predates Barry Windham, but what do you think about replacing Ole with Lex Luger?
Well, I knew Ole, and we go back to our family. Ole's deal was when they first hired him, he said, "Yeah, I'll come back work for a while, but I'm not going to be in forever." And point blank, he wanted to go see his son Bryant, who was wrestling at UTC amateur, and he was wanting to go see his matches, which meant he wasn't going to be at TV a lot of days and all that stuff. I didn't quite understand that because I'm like, man, this is working, this is great. I knew even then that you can't take him, Ole Anderson, out. Who are you going to put in there? And when they showed us Luger, I went, okay, I get he looks phenomenal, looks better than everybody in the business, but you can't replace an Ole Anderson. You just can't. But when it was Dad said that, hey guys, he said, I'm going home. That's it. And that whole angle was a shoe that we worked. But he was going home one way or the other, and Luger looked so good. He just gave us a asset that now we're trying to get heat. And at the time, I knew it was going to be a bit of a disconnect, but we're trying to get heat. Tully and I are being real pricks. People love Flair. People love Luger. Look at it. The girls loved it. What's not to love? I mean, they're not going to dislike that guy. So we're spinning our wheels to try to put Luger over and shove him down everybody's face on promos so that at least the guys and the boyfriends of all these girls would dislike him.
Right.
They wouldn't want to, well, the saying goes, they want to be with him or they want to be him, We tried to at least cancel out, and we would look at your friend, we'd go, look at this guy, and really shove him down your throat. So it was what it was. I don't think Lex has had that in mind for his career. Obviously, he had bigger aspirations, and which was fine. We did the best we could. I don't think anybody can say we didn't.
One of my questions got sent in to me was about your time when you went to WWE. You worked obviously with Telly. You started working with Bobby. What was the translation of working from Bobby to JJ? What was the differences of the management?
I've actually had, this just kind of hit me all at once. Do you realize I've been managed by Paul Ellering?
Yes.
Paul Heyman.
Yep.
JJ Dillon. And Bobby Heenan. I didn't even realize that until I sat down and thought about it one day.
For the best.
The best of the best, really, of all time.
Yep.
I would say that they're always the Mount Rushmore thing is the big deal. People always ask you what's your Mount Rushmore of managers. You got to put Cornette up there. Obviously, I never had the opportunity to work with Jimmy, but with the exception of Jimmy, I had Colonel Parker.
Yep.
I had some great minds around me, and Bobby Heenan. More so than anything, what he brought to us was he was just, it was the backstage stuff. I would say, hey, Bobby, what do you think about this hat? And before that hat could hit the table, he had a witty comeback to it, something funny.
Yeah.
Every single time, no matter what I said to him, he had a rebuttal. He was just a pleasant guy to be around, sharp as a tack, and he had some heat, man. They start the weasel chant. All you had to do was follow up with getting your ass kicked, and you had a beautiful night.
You guys,
hell of a bumper too.
Again, guys, the hat.
Textbook.
The fan asked, your memories of Pensacola when you first coming in, like Florida, and everything.
What about it?
Just your memories of it.
Oh, Pensacola, yeah, God Almighty. It was I tell people, all my friends that have been in the wrestling business and did not have the opportunity to wrestle in the Pensacola territory,
right?
Heaven on earth. Give you the week. And remember it, it's so clear to me. Monday, we all lived in Pensacola. You would drive up to Birmingham, 275, drive back. Tuesday, 50 miles to Mobile, 50 miles back. Wednesday, off day, off. And the wrestling business was unheard of.
I go to the beach.
Oh, you could go to the beach every day if you wanted to. I mean, it was up to you. The only day you really had to crowd it in would be Monday. But if you want to go, straight away from the gym and go over for an hour and a half, you could. It was plausible. And Thursday was probably Montgomery. Friday was a spot show on the way to Dothan, where you could either drive back home if you chose to, or you could drive on into Dothan and do a little drinking at the Sheraton.
Oh, yeah.
And we chose to every week do a little drinking. Wake up the next day, you'd be at TV by 12. You would do television taping in Dothan and do a house show there that night. After that, drive right back to Pensacola. Guess what was Sunday? Pensacola. So in your head, do the math, I'll help you with it. It's about 800 miles a week of driving.
Not bad.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Should I drove that in 2 days many times with WWE.
Of course, yeah.
Hard driving through the snow and through the mountains and you name it. And I met my wife there, who's still with me today, Erin, God bless her. She's a good woman. If you can find a woman that'll stay with you in this business, you better hang on to her. And I was fortunate enough to be there for about 14 months, which in those days, Hills had about a 6-month run. But I was working with the Armstrongs a lot, and I just found a home there. And I really didn't have to leave when I did. Rick just booked me out he said, Charlotte's fixing to pop. We're putting some players together and really like to have you there. And so he negotiated and talked me into it. And started with Crockett in March of '85.
Nice.
The rest is history.
Yep. And the rest, as they say, is history. For sure. Where do you kind of discover? How does Rick discover you down there? Is he traveling down there doing some NWA?
He was wrestling there.
Okay.
The champion in those days would come in for a week.
Right.
And he would wrestle Bob Armstrong or Ron Fuller, the top guys in the territory. A lot of times we'll do an hour Broadway, which is for those that don't know, is a 1 hour time limit draw. And he drew. And the champ coming to town was a big deal. It's like places that don't have entertainment at all, and all of a sudden they got, back in the day, the circus was in town.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal.
Yep.
And it was a big deal when Rick was the champ coming to town, and somebody had to pick him up at the airport, take him to his hotel, and for that week, be responsible for taking him to the gym and all that. They asked me if I would consider doing it. I would be honored to do it. And we built a friendship in that first week. And he left and went back on the road, came back, months later, and he saw that I had improved, which I hope was substantially. I was learning everything I could, certainly. And he said, we got some big things going to be happening in the Carolinas. I'd like to have you. And he left again, and it was a couple months. Got a hold of me. There was at TV on Saturday. There was a message, call Ric Flair at this number. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, boy.
Wow.
But they said, no, I'm serious. Call him. He called. He said, just so you know, I've taken you out of the middle. I just, told Ron Fuller that would be interested in you. Would they consider letting you go? And he said, well, in those days, all the promoters worked together. And yeah, he's had a pretty good run here. We'll talk. What have you talked to Arn about it? He said, yeah. What did he say? He said, well, he's not giving me anything definite. He said, well, y'all talk, get back to me. I talked to him, got back to Ron. I work as much notice as you want. And what do you think, Ron? And here's how great promoters were some of them back in the day versus some that really sucked. But he was one of the good guys. He said, Ron, I think it's an opportunity you cannot afford to miss.
Right. Good enough. Very nice.
And it gave me the highest pay I had my last week in the territory on the way out.
Wow.
Which you got that check in the mail always. Well, usually you got screwed. Just face it. Plus you weren't coming back anytime soon.
Yep.
Gave me the biggest pay that I've ever had working for them. Which was outstanding.
That's amazing. Yeah, usually, right, you probably get the worst check on the way out.
Well, because usually guys it wouldn't be that the company finished them up. It would be that they're leaving.
Yeah, it's true.
They're bitching about pay or they're bitching about positioning and they're going to try to hold them up. They go, well, you're free to go.
Charlie, you told me your favorite 2 horsemen ever were Mongo McMichaels and Paul Roma. Is that true?
I mean, I don't remember ever telling you that, but I tell you what, I'm a fan of Mongo because he's a man's man.
You're damn right he is.
Super Bowl champion.
You know,
I got a little trouble with Mongo a couple years ago, you know.
I want to hear that story.
Mongo had a little signing with Mongo, and Mongo was like, "You like to go out and have an adult beverage after the signing." And 2 days later, I don't remember anything else. He's
famous last words. I went drinking with Mongo.
Didn't you tell me once that you went drinking or somebody went drinking with Mongo in Philly and they lost him for a week? Like, he was gone. 2 weeks, he was gone. Let's get back to Paul Roma. Why Roma? I don't get that.
He's a body guy, I bet you.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at me. I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym, baby, all the time. I mean, I gotta be. I mean,
your body guys all stick together.
I know. Protein shakes and health nutrition bars.
Me and Jay there saying Owen's our favorite horseman. You're saying Paul Roma.
I mean, at least he outlasted Sting.
Yeah. But that was part of the story. Sting was going to get
Sting was never really a horseman. And Mongo, let me tell you guys, he was he never had one wrestling lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, okay, Arn, here's a helmet, some shoulder pads. You want to go play for the Bears? Really? How do you think that turned out?
Right.
And I think guys or people are a little hard on him about the fact that he wasn't a polished wrestler. He's a polished human being.
Yes, it was.
It's funny. You go back and watch his matches and stuff. Guys would kill to get that reaction that he got. He was getting huge pops.
Well, hey, listen. Most fans are crossover fans. I know most wrestlers are NFL fans.
Oh yeah.
I would say far and above basketball or anything else. What do you say?
Yes. Yep.
And we respect. One thing about athletes, we all respect what another guy can do that we can't. And Mongo was a freaking all-pro playing for the 1985 Bears, for God's sake.
Yep, unbelievable.
That speaks volumes. What do
continue.
you think Ole said to me when I walked out and he walked out beside me and I had that hat on?
He was probably not happy with you.
What are you doing with that effing hat on?
Nice.
Heat, ain't it?
No, that's
He just sat there and shook his head and
yes,
kept walking.
Keep walking, guys.
That's going to be probably 80.
88, 89?
No, God, much earlier. 80, probably 5.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah, 85 at the very latest, 86.
so this is about probably 30 years old. I mean, no, 30, more than 30.
Ole and I would have been the national tag champions. That's the national belt, right? National tag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is probably close to 35 years old.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, I got a question for you. I'm a South Philly kid, so I grew up on ECW. You made an appearance in ECW. How did that come about? With Sabu, I believe.
I was booked out. At that particular time, I had done an angle with Bill Watts' son, Eric Watts, and I'd been out a few months, and I was in the process of starting back, and they booked us out, and I worked for Paulie a couple days, and actually, I think it was like a couple of days, maybe 2 days of TV, and it was with Sabu, Terry Funk, and
Bobby Eaton.
Yep, and we were out of our element because I was not falling out of the ceiling for nobody. Nobody was falling out of the ceiling on me. So it was a little bit of a weird pairing. But my experience with Todd Gordon and Paulie and everybody, all the boys treated me fine. I wasn't there to get anybody's job, and they knew it. I was just passing through. And I think that makes for a different locker room when they know that you're just in and out.
Right. Yeah, it's one of my favorite ECW moments. Is you coming in.
Never thought you'd see it, right?
Yeah, it was so random. I couldn't believe the footage existed when I discovered it.
Well, it's like working for Cornette over Smoky Mountain, same thing.
Right.
I went over for 3 days. One of the most enjoyable experiences I ever had.
I remember just the TV of that of Cornette just pulling the sheet off.
Yeah.
And just Bobby, the reaction, and Bobby's like, oh, shaking hand, and then just boom, and then you guys were off to the races because no one thought they'd ever see Arn Anderson team up with the Rock and Roll Express.
Yep.
And it was
how far fetched is that?
Right? It's like, wow. I mean, for a Southern kid growing, I was watching it. Oh my God!
Of everybody underneath that, I was probably the last one they ever picked. If you had a list of names, who was that going to be?
Yep.
I would have been last.
So, Arn, we're talking about ECW. Do you have any? Obviously, Philadelphia has a different crowd when it comes to the audience. It's got a different vibe completely. How was your experience coming to Philadelphia, whether it was ECW or any other company?
I'll give you a story that best probably describes me and Philadelphia. In the later WCW years, you remember PN News?
Sure.
Yo baby, yo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which down south was babyface. They were, pushing him to be this. That was the beginning, I guess, of hip hop and all that stuff. And so he was going to be that guy. Well, that didn't fly, obviously, in Philly. I had a single match with him. And I came to the ring. Philly fans loved us because we were blood and guts. Horsemen were baby faces in Philly. That's where we're the Road Warriors.
Yep.
And Dusty, and then it was run for your life. We were definitely bad guys. So the match started, and I bounced around for the guy. He was a big guy. Silence. Bounced around for him some more. Silence. Kicked his knee out from under him. The place exploded. I kept it very short. Put the boots to him. He made a comeback. Silence. Beat me. 1, 2, 3. Silence. He left the ring, and I got up, and I just looked around, and they fucking exploded. He totally got it.
Yeah, that sums up Philadelphia.
That's really
accurate, actually.
And other than screaming just, like negative shit at him, they just gave him nothing. That was their way of telling you what they wanted. And, through the years, they were a pretty diverse audience. Like ECW fans, I think, would be a portion of what would go to our show or a WWF show. And they had their own individual fans for us and for them. It was like a hell of a blend. It was Philly really, over the years, has really supported wrestling, no matter who it is. I think they give everybody a chance to win their approval. And,
right.
It was a town a lot of the baby faces hated going to. I loved it.
Yeah, that sounds like Philadelphia. They booed Santa Claus. Totally.
Well, they arrest their own fans, don't they?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Philly at the Eagles.
I popped like hell. got a friggin' police department in the stadium. That's the only one of those, right? Gotta be.
Yeah, I think so. The only one I've ever heard of. Yeah.
Talking about a buzzkill.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of? I think it was probably right around '99. I guess you guys did the Old School Outlaws at the time with Terry Funk, yourself. Who else was in there? I'm trying to think. Do you have any memories of that? You guys were feuding with Kevin Nash at the time. He powerbombed you guys through the Thunder.
You were helping
entrance.
Flair.
Yeah.
Was it '99? Was it that late?
2000, I think.
Yeah,
There's some stuff that I just.
Yeah, late '99, 2000.
Yeah,
when Sullivan
I
took
don't remember at all.
Really?
Well, I wouldn't have been doing too much because I'd already had my neck surgery in '97, and that pretty much prevented me from doing a lot. I managed like You know, we'd go out some with Rick, and I went out some with Benoit.
Yep.
And Dean, against Eddie, and I think Ray. We had a loop, some of that,
Yep.
you know, but not much.
At AA before, you shockingly said that FTR was better than you and Tully, which I find hard to believe. But what do you think? More athletic? Why FTR over you guys?
Athletically, I think that probably covers most of it. The fact that they're students, you know, of the business, and they go back and they watch, God knows, you know, how much tape, you know, and they asked a lot of questions, I'm sure, to each other. The whys and the why nots of the business that don't get addressed probably enough. You know, why do you not power bomb a guy on the apron a minute and a half into a match? You'd be surprised. You giggled, John. You'd be surprised.
I've seen it, yeah.
The number of people that haven't been told that when they were schooled and they were, you know, first brought into the business, they want to do the big stuff.
Yes.
Students. So that, because that's what they're saying on TV, so they think they need to learn how to do that to get a job. But in the process, they're skipping over all the whys and the why nots. Why do you not do something? The psychology, you know, beyond about everything you do. You know, everything must have a reason. You know, and it's like if we're sitting here talking, and I just all of a sudden thump you in the nose, I'm going to get a reaction.
Yep.
Now, depending on how much that stung, that's going to depend on how big a reaction I get. But you would be surprised at the people that want to disregard the thump in the nose and just move on to, oh, what am I going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the part of the business that is not lost on these guys. You know, everything means something. And they're just so athletic. I mean, I look at AEW, you know, I was sitting there watching the guys last Thursday. And they're out there in the afternoon in the ring. This kid, Scorpio, apparently has an incredible amateur background. I don't know that much about him to have asked him yet, but he was out there warming up and doing some stuff and, you know, shooting across the ring and just doing some stuff with a couple of the guys. I'm like, Jesus, this kid's a horse. He's a stud. He got a hell of an amateur background that nobody even knew about. You know, there's just the athletes of today, I think, have just evolved. They're just better than we were. It was we were selling a different product that the business has become today, but there's also a place to plug in some of that yesteryear stuff that involves the storytelling. And storytelling is what sells tickets. You can do all this flip flop and fly all night, but if everybody does it by the third match, I'm desensitized to it. I'm burnt out on it.
Yep.
You know, so you have to have basics to plug in with it. Hopefully, we'll get back to that.
Arn, I know you're WWE's showing the Survivor Series. It's Undertaker's retirement. One of the big moments that you had was at WrestleMania when Taker wrestled Flair, and you did the spine buster on the Taker.
Yep.
What is your memories? Obviously, you know, I mean, no one can ever say a bad word about, you know, Undertaker. What's your memories of him that you can?
I have I'm almost embarrassed to let this out of the bag, but apparently it hasn't gotten out at this point. I guess last week Taker was doing a podcast. It's Hot Ones.
It's the hot sauce.
Yeah, with the hot sauce and
something, and he was interviewing Taker, and the guy just asked him randomly. He said, "Who's the best technical wrestler you ever saw?"
He said, "You?"
Yeah.
Wow.
I watched it.
Oh, it's awesome.
I saw that.
Absolutely for you. You would have to be on this side of the desk to appreciate what that means. It doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Wow.
I mean,
He's seen quite a few guys that anybody's name coming out of his mouth, might have made more sense. But it's his opinion, and it's one of those things that if you're me, you take that to your grave. It's probably the best compliment I've ever had since I've been in business.
Wow,
Amazing.
So, what was the original question?
No, just your thought on Taker.
Yeah,
WrestleMania.
he's the most respected guy in the locker room because sick, hurt, problems at home, whatever it was, he showed up, did his job.
Absolutely.
He led by, he led the locker room by example, and everything was always business with him. What was right for business, and a lot of times he could have made decisions on matches that would have been in his favor, and he didn't because he knew it was the right thing. And he's just a guy that everybody looks up to because he's always right, and it's always business first. And he's special. There'll never be another one.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, he was very firm on his answer too when he named you as the best technical wrestler. It wasn't even like he had to think about it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, and I wouldn't even know that it was there. Probably Conrad sent me a clip of it. He says, "Look at this," and
I guess that kind of is the biggest cosign you can get in professional wrestling is Undertaker telling you you're the best technical wrestler out there.
well, and especially with the history of my exit from there and the fact that I don't work there.
Right.
Anyone, I would venture to say anyone else, and it would have been the right thing to do, would have been, say, someone in your company, Kurt Angle, whoever it would have been, to go outside of his company and say that about me, who's now working for the competition.
Right.
It puts another layer on just the kind of man he is. If they asked him a question, he told them what he thought was the truth. And that's the way he conducted his business. What he thought was the right thing to do, that's what he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tonight is the 30th anniversary of him and Survivor Series and supposedly, quote unquote, final farewell. So this could be all she wrote for Undertaker. We'll see, though. We'll see if it's going to lead to something.
I hope that they allow him, if most of that show is featuring him, they allow him to walk away. And if he does walk back in the door for whatever reason, whenever it is, make it right for him.
Absolutely.
He's earned it.
Yep. And that spine buster WrestleMania 18 he gave him was awesome. It was quite a shocker at the time.
Oh, I mean, if you're at home, you're like watching it. The streak is over.
Yeah.
The streak is over. He hits it. The streak is over, and it's like
You just said the right thing because no one saw me get there, even live.
Yeah.
I was low running right by the rail. They never saw it. It's like I just appeared, and it was so well done on their part and set up so well. And I just went poof like a genie. I'm there. They're going. That's it. He's going to do this.
Yeah.
That was my feeling.
Yeah.
It wasn't a pop just off a spine buster. It went, son of a bitch, when I rolled down and went down. And if you're looking at that, you're going, we're going to get away with this shit.
yeah, like Flair and Anderson once again came together and pulled the wool over everybody.
It was not a shock to that audience if that would have been the finish. I don't think it was shocking. Wouldn't have been the right thing to do, but it wouldn't have shocked them because it was so well put together by those guys.
Speaking of that, I always ask people, do you think the streak should have ended?
Never. He should have retired with the streak. It was bigger than any angle on any WrestleMania. The streak was the angle.
Absolutely.
Why? Why beat him? He should be able to walk away with that one night of the year. He's unbeaten.
One night a year, he's Santa Claus. I'm sure.
And did Lesnar need to be the guy that beat him?
He didn't need it. He's Brock Lesnar. I stand firmly. Nobody should have beat him. It's just one night after all he's meant to the business and continues to mean that he just was better than whoever's opponent was that one night. It's not about the title. It should never be about the title. It should be about the streak.
It's almost above the title, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Obviously, being a producer for years, WrestleMania is obviously the big day of the year. You know what I mean? And the big week, obviously. You have access. They're running y'all a million plates and everything. What was it like? Hall of Fame weekend. I mean, you wore so many hats when you went in Hall of Fame. I'm imagining being a producer, Hall of Fame, access, and everything. Was that the craziest WrestleMania weekend?
For the producers, it's a hell of a week's work.
Right.
You don't have a day that you have downtime.
Right.
Believe it or not, they don't have enough rings to accommodate as many, rehearsals and stuff as they should.
Absolutely.
And it's, I'll just put it to you this way. After my Hall of Fame induction, I had to meet Cena over at the arena at midnight to go over the match.
Oh, wow.
So
you didn't get to enjoy your
so I didn't even get that. Well, I mean, I enjoyed it. I was still on a hell of a high, floating around. But notoriously, John liked to go after the Hall of Fame to go and have his entrance and have it timed out and all that and kick some stuff around. So for me, the night of Hall of Fame was a torture. Sometimes I want to get back to the hotel at 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Obviously, who was your favorite person? Was it John to produce stuff for?
Well, there wasn't even an option. Vince gave John to me. He said, he's yours, teacher.
Wow. So you got John from the very beginning.
From the beginning.
What was your first impression of the guy when you seen him?
Well, a couple of nights it was, the guy looks good, but what a friggin' meathead. I'll give you an example, and this is John, and I applaud that he was willing to try to do some different stuff to get over. One night, and this was right after we first started working together, and he was working with Kurt Angle. And I'm sitting there watching it, and Kurt's getting some heat on John, and he's kicking the shit out of him. And all of a sudden, John rolls out of the ring, goes over the rail, goes out and gets one of those big foam fingers and folds it into.
Oh, God.
Well, the audience popped, but as he came back over the rail, guess who was waiting on him? Kurt Angle.
Oh.
Who proceeded to stomp his brains out.
Absolutely.
Which made John, now the audience went, yeah, what a dumb move that was. Dumb son of a bitch.
Yep, true.
So it was, yay, I applaud you for trying something outside the box. Got to remember your big face. Don't do stupid shit. And it appeared you did stupid shit. So it was a learning experience. And, you learn, and he got a lot more wise. And John, the main thing is what I tell people about John as he got further into his career and really got over and all the stuff. John doesn't have any kids. John is the leading Make-A-Wish giver on the planet, and it's to kids. That tells you who he is.
And if you want an autograph or whatever you want to do, let me know. I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. A lot of people ask. I know ask AEW, is there going to be a Horseman?
I don't think there'll ever be another Four Horsemen. Just to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Are you jealous of Tully right now that he's managing FTR
Yes.
and you're not?
I am. I certainly am. And I've expressed that. Fell on deaf ears. I'm big fans. I'm big fans of a lot of guys there. Like I said, that Scorpio Sky, that whole group, ECU.
SCU, yeah.
SCU.
Yeah.
All these damn letters. Very good. Unless you've seen them operate as a team, they're excellent. Hangman Page, very good.
Yep.
Of course, we're seeing Cody's evolution. I like the new, I think, improved Kenny. I think he was evolving towards being a heel. I think he's probably going to be better in that role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a lot of talented guys that Sean Spears is a talented guy, really is, on that roster. I think Jungle Boy, believe it or not, if you can believe I'm saying that, got a lot of talent.
Very athletic, yeah.
I think he's learning to pull the audience in the ring with him and have them help him along, which is Ricky Morton, Ricky Steamboat,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which is the key to being a babyface.
Are you surprised at all with the constant victories on Wednesday night? Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty substantial, AEW beating NXT in the rating. Surprised you at all you expected?
I think I just think it's different. I think it's a blend of a little. It's AEW. There's some WCW. There's some independent influence. It's all kind of wrapped into one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not sports entertainment by choice. And I think there are, it's a 1 year old startup company. People got to understand that. You're gonna make some mistakes, and you're gonna learn some things along the way. But everybody there, you can't say that anybody goes through that curtain is not trying their dead level best to give their audience what they want. And some of them don't know what the audience wants yet. They're having to learn that and learn it the hard way.
Tracy, I know you're in Hawaii, so we'll message you about shipping. But I know you already sent your payment in and everything. But we'll message you about shipping afterwards and everything.
Some growing pains for sure for AEW.
Yeah, and the main thing is you have a boss that is the owner, that is the final word, that truly cares about his talent, and they're part of his family. And you have to be around him to see it, feel it. And it's not like, hey, I'm a billionaire, I'm Tony Khan, I own this company, it's my way or the highway. You never get anything remotely. It's like, hey, guys, hey, how you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you're with us. Glad you're part of this. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Right. Thanks. Yeah. All right, guys. This is going to be our last call on photos, guys. We have about 5 minutes left, guys. Make sure you guys are messaging Jessica to get those final photo orders in, guys. A question came across. It's kind of an interesting question, I think. Vince recently ruled that the guys and girls there cannot have outside third-party sources like the cameos, the Twitch, and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not that familiar with it, and I would say it's if it's possible to have two sets of rules. For the people that are on substantial downsides,
right,
that are making a huge living, I would say you probably don't need the extra stuff. But for the bottom tier talent that are not benefiting from live events, that have their downside and that's all they have.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure of the numbers with any given person, but I would say, let's cut these guys and the girls a little slack. If they need it to, supplement their living,
Oh, yeah.
well, where's the skin off anybody's back? Let them make some extra money. But again, it's like, well, how do you say that? That's two sets of rules. Well, it kind of is two sets of rules, but also I think that a company that's showing record profits can figure it out. And I think stepping on the little guy is what you're going to end up. that's going to be the only ones that are hurt. You know, some of those upsides on a lot of that talent that they've earned, and they've earned those big upsides. That's great. Because I think, to be honest with you, you know, nobody's going to be touring anytime soon. I'm just scared to death of what the winter's going to bring. Hate to be a pessimist, but can you imagine when some of the people that are the most susceptible to this virus, suddenly now they have the flu? Now they get that on top of that? What the possibilities may be? And I hate to get on the downer, but I think we're in for a long winter.
Yep, that's
And, the fact that these guys can make some money that way, I just don't know that I'd take that away from them.
Arn,
Yes.
my phone was blowing up the entire time because somebody was watching on the feed. Supposed to say hello to you. JJ.
Hey, James.
Hey,
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I don't want to interrupt you when you're sitting inside and making money, but I wanted to make sure that I said hello to you anyway.
Well, we spend most of the time talking about you anyway. Okay, here's the deal. I told them, Johnny Bench is your nickname. It's up to you to tell them what that's all about.
Johnny Bench still lives.
Oh my. Okay, so wrestling fans. So if you guys would like to have JJ come up here maybe next week and do a signing or something, guys, let's we're gonna have to get a bunch of lights and a bunch of hearts up there to see that happen, and maybe we'll get the silver fox to weasel it out of it.
If you get that story, it'll be worth the price of admission. Trust me.
Oh my God! Yeah, you're lucky. Double A doesn't do a lot of appearances, so that's a big deal. I'm happy for you. And happy for the fans that are getting some stuff signed.
Well, we're live on with the fans and everything, and like I was telling Double A, what you mean to me, JJ. You know what you mean to me in life and everything, and we're family and everything. And I just wanted to call you, and I seen you messaging me and everything, and I wanted to call you and say hello back to you and let you say hello to Arn and everything.
And I appreciate it because Double A is he's the brother that I never had. That's how I feel about it and how I look at it.
All right, JJ, very good, sir. I'll give you a call tomorrow, and we'll do some lunch this week and everything.
Sounds good.
All right, sir.
Appreciate that you called me so I can say hello to the enforcer.
I love you, John. Love you, James. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks for picking my raffle number, JJ.
If I don't talk to you, you have a blessed Thanksgiving for you and your family, and happy holiday season.
Same to you, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
I hope the fans enjoyed that. A little Horseman reunion there.
Yeah.
You know,
Horse the best.
He is. Guys, thank Double A for coming in again, guys.
No, thank you guys, everybody in this room, everybody at home. I appreciate it. Like I said, I've never had an opportunity to thank you properly. Just want to say thank you. Appreciate all your support.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.